Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to SimSpeed TV. Here on a Sunday afternoon, it's the first of our two broadcasts today, and we begin with coverage from the first of our V8SCOPS Support Series standalone events. Welcome to the Wilson's Industrial Sales Bathurst 6-hour here this afternoon as we bring you coverage specifically of the final 2 hours of the racing action here at the mountain today. My name is Daniel Yeaman. Jake Kennedy alongside me in the comms booth. He'll be taking care of the cameras for us today as well. And unfortunately, Jay, neither of us able to be here for earlier parts of the coverage, but able to now get into the swing of things to wrap things off. And we have a bit of an idea of what's happened so far, mind you, in saying that. So we're not completely in the blind here with where we start now.
No, we're not completely in the blind. It's been a relatively clean race, which is great to see. There's been a couple of incidents back in the field, but for the most part, it's been relatively clean, relatively respectful. A little bit of carnage down Conrad Straight with a little bit of multi-class action, but that's expected in every multi-class race. But the three classes of racing still have every driver except for one out on track. We've only got one retirement out of 28 cars starting the event. All 13 of our Grand Touring class are running. Our 2-litre Tourers, all 5 of them that started the race are all still going, and 9 of our 10 starters in our Flat 4s, our Toyota 86 class, also continuing in this race. We've got our first pit stop from the lead group. The former race leader, Kobe Williams, Eclipse Sim Sports, into the lane for their 4th stop of this race.
Yeah, so just over 4 hours into this one, as we bring the information up here on screen for you now. And I'd say it's the first time I'm also seeing this particular style of overlay package. ATVO doing some pretty cool work in the background this year, developing a new theme for them, and just I guess also getting a chance to see how it runs. But yeah, with the Eclipse Sim Sports car coming to the pit lane, it will hand the lead of the race back over to the Brookvale Falcon by Lobs entry tonight. Plenty of Mercedes AMG GT4s in this field, and they currently control all 3 spots in that Grand Tour podium at the moment. Jay, as off the jacks comes Williams in that Eclipse Sim Sports 994, 40 seconds hold stationary, adds up just 1 minute and 5 from cone to cone there, and he'll slow out there in a bit of traffic, so not the greatest spot to come out, I'd suggest, but given the pace differential, should be able to make fairly easy work of that here.
Yeah, well, it is the fastest car on track, Kobe Williams, although he was losing a bit of ground before we went live. The gap was around 11 seconds, dropped down to 7-ish, but built it back up to around 10.5, 11 by the time he came in for that pit stop. So Brad Newman was closing in, Brad driving with SVG, so those guys are going to be very, very interesting to watch come that final phase of the race when they come in for that last stop at around about 1 hour to go. You were saying before we came live that we're looking at an interesting race length of potentially a full Bathurst 1000, 161, maybe 162 laps. So it's going to be very, very interesting what the final race distance is, but we're looking around that 160 to 162 lap marker.
Yep, I can actually see that my timing has updated, despite the fact that the leader has come to the pit lane to also now say that we should expect a 162 lap race. There's an interesting sort of side note, I guess, but yeah, could be a random safety car that mixes things up there in that respect. That might pull that one back. So yeah, but given the fact, yeah, 6-hour race, and our top class is the GT4 category here on iRacing to make up our V8SCOPS Supports Grand Tour category. Yeah, the pace differential to real life numbers, yeah, checks out more or less. So obviously explains a lot as to why you'd be pretty much nailing the head on 161 lap event, and obviously that adding up to 1,000 kilometers. So there we go. Newman out, and Van Gisbergen to get behind the wheel of the Brookvale Falcon by Lobs entry. So Kobe Williams back to the race lead, and they do have a lap on. Apologies there. Sorry.
Ronnie Costello now leads the race.
Yeah, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot there because I didn't apparently tell my timing to make sure to sort by position. And so, lo and behold, there we go. Doing myself a solid disservice. Indeed. Costello. So our top 3, all Mercedes AMG GT4s, will exchange the spots. Now Van Gisbergen is just getting away now, I should say, as Brett Loxton brings the first of our Aston Martins in that class, the Team G shifters, HGR 209 to the lane there. So just getting over an hour per stint, it would seem. So those drivers will be on track to make this a 5-stop race in the Grand Tour category. As we check in with our slowest category here today, but not necessarily the most unexciting, but it's the Flat 4s, and it's Cameron Dance behind the wheel currently of the Auto Motorsport Venus entry. They're sharing that car with Simon Mazzomo today, Jay, and they hold a pretty healthy lead there of about a minute back to P2 in class.
Yeah, they've been lapping very, very quickly. They've had very, very good pace. Also had very, very good fuel economy too. So they're looking at a strong position. They've just been passed there by SVG on his return to the track. Now, pit stop wise, Kobe Williams versus SVG, it was around about 15 seconds longer stop there for SVG. So I'm guessing it's taken a couple of extra tyres at that stop from Kobe Williams and also the driver swap. Kobe will jump out of the car at the next stop, you would think, and let Dylan Burst back into the car. Lots of cool names in this event, though. It's great to see a different variety of names in this race, and some drivers teaming up that we don't normally see racing together too, which is always a fun thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, it is very true. The event was primarily built for our SCOPS supports competitors this year, but it was open to drivers outside of the category, but it also means you've got drivers who are intending to run the supports calendar in various categories, not necessarily just the 3 in attendance today. Also then pairing up with drivers from their team who aren't taking part in the category, the season category for the whole year. So yeah, indeed, I think it's a good way to put it. There's certainly a diverse mix of drivers to have a look at out here and see how they're all going as they sort of settle into this sort of final phase of the race. There are plenty of drivers, though, that I would suggest. Certainly a familiar face is one of them, the Middle Finger Racing entry. Gavin Cox currently behind the wheel of the 555.
These guys have been closing on that Alpha Venturi car in the last little bit. So this battle for a top 10 in class could be up for an actual change of position in the next couple of laps, with Cox last lap by around about 3 seconds quicker.
That is quite the pace delta indeed, and having a look at it for myself, yeah, I sure can see that delta of a 2:15.8 to a 2:18.2. So Linton Wills in the 818 Alpha Venturi Merc not having a strong lap. You can see the updates there to a 17.5, plays a 16.8. So again, a little more time taken out by the 555 Middle Finger Aston here on screen, because there is that 818 just heading out of frame as they work their way up Mountain Straight here.
Yeah, 3 seconds is nothing in multi-class racing, isn't it? You get caught with traffic at one corner at the wrong spot, especially at this track where it's so easy to lose ground. This Alpha Venturi car's really got to be careful to make sure they don't lose too much ground too quickly, because it will hurt them, and hurt them quick, if they find a car at the wrong spot. Just as I say that, Middle Finger car looks like it did get through, so there's another car in the background that I thought may have got in a little bit of trouble. So it looks like they're okay, but down to under 3 seconds now, so Gavin Cox really starting to close this down.
Yep, clear air between the two of them as they work their way around the circuit, and that will be important to note as this race goes on. As what can you do? What track do you have to, or clear track do you have to work with, and so on and so forth? Because yeah, spots across here at the top, it's very much, for the most part, a one-line affair. Although some may be brave enough to try and do something a bit different. Although in that case, it's potentially risky, to say the least. So hopefully we won't see too much of that. Just maybe towards the end of the race, we might see someone getting a little ambitious, but in that case, we do sincerely hope that, well, any ambition is carefully managed and well executed in that case.
It's down to 1.5 seconds now, so it's closed very, very quickly across the top of the mountain. So we could see, you see there, Gavin Cox having to deal with a Toyota 86 just at the wrong point of the corner. Did make it past just before the approach, and is now well and truly within sight.
Yes, yep, continuing to absolutely cut down that margin. I'll watch for the lap times as they come across the line here in a moment's. Yeah, so another 2:18. Yep, 2:18.3. Plays 2:16.0. Gee whiz. All right, well, I'm pretty sure that position will exchange hands pretty rapidly here in that case, because yeah, that's a comprehensively quicker time, and they've both been in the car for similar amounts And Lindsay Wills actually a couple laps.
It's current stint time up there, so 24 laps for Wills and 19 laps for Cox. So Lindsay Wills needs to pit a lot sooner than the middle finger car of Gavin Cox.
So again, yeah, critically, obviously the point I'm trying to make, well, was trying to make there was that it's not an issue in terms of Wills. Oh, he's in the marbles at the cutting. That's going to halve that margin some more. So now, actually also noting a bit of front bumper damage to the nose of the 818. Yeah, it is. It's caved in. Now, I actually saw that on the Eclipse Sim Sports car. Oh, they've caught the leading flat four of Dance as they come through. Oh, geez, come through. That'll be Sulman Park into McPhillamy there. As Dance just tries to stay out of the way. But, well, you can kiss any kind of margin goodbye now between our two that we're watching here for this fight for the final spot in the top 10 of the Grand Tour as we inside of 2 hours to go, or inside of an hour 45 to go, and there wide again from Wills is not going to do him any favors. That other car in the background there, that's the OPR by Lob's Customer Racing. Unfortunately for David Lord, he's 3 laps down on these two fighting, so if he can get through, he's, well, certainly permitted to, but we'll need to be mindful of the fact we've got a race for position here. Several laps up as through the chase they come almost together as these cars, obviously not as much grip, Jay, as, say, your GT3 brethren that we see here at the mountain in February, or even the V8s that dominate this place. So a little bit more squirmy through the chase there. Thankfully, all cars make it through, and Lord actually takes advantage to actually separate our two cars fighting here for this on-track spot.
It's turned this into an intense battle now, isn't it, with the extra car involved? I mean, there's nothing wrong with what David Lord did there. He's just trying to get himself back into some sort of position in the race. He can gain a spot if he can find himself 2 laps. It's going to be difficult to do, but the strange thing about this race and these endurance races at this track is that it's not over until that checkered flag waves and you've actually crossed the line, because how many times have we seen in the past, in years gone by, where drivers have literally, in the real world this is, pushed their car across the line or attempted to. So this is not done in any way, shape or form until you cross the line on that final lap.
Yep, without a doubt. Plenty of pace differential as Lord's trying to actually get on by Wills here. We'll see this at different lines through the cutting as Lord really aggressively up against the wall. There's no way through here for now. So they'll make their way up and over Reed Park and then down to the Great and Sulman. Or at least I'm going to really hope I'm getting those right and I'm not getting Reed and Sulman mixed up. I do know, obviously, McPhillamy starts here at the top. And then they'll make their way back down through the skyline and the S's. That's looking a little deep for Wills. Like he's having a real hard time getting that car pulled up in some of these corners. And indeed, open exposed. Oh, no. Contact between the two. Wills in the wall hard. Front and right side takes a beating as Lord tried to get on through on the approach to the elbow. And now car's going to have to be careful because that's stuck and on the racing line. Next car's going to approach is your flat 4 leader as he's going very slow as Cameron Dance. Wills, thankfully, gets that car well out of the way and into the tyres outside of Forest Elbow there, Jay.
Wow, that's huge for this race, isn't it? I mean, that's the sort of incident that you expect to happen at some point, but you don't ever want to see. Oh no! Out for the reverse. Oh. It's such a nerve-wracking spot to be, and I mean, he can't get out of there easily. He actually has done a very, very good job to get away from that, but oh my. That wasn't how I was expecting the coverage to start.
There's a bit of controversy there for us, so we'll have a look at it on the replay once again. And yeah, just a bad run through the dipper for Wills. Lord's up the inside. Oh, that's really unfortunate. The fact that that's not actual contact that sparked that one, at least from that angle there, I would suggest. So,
in saying that, while potentially a bit of phantom contact, I think there was still going to be contact made either way. And the other part of that is it's probably not a spot you really want to throw your nose up. You just sort of have to tuck in behind and take the loss of losing ground and fight another time. But yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm sure Race Control are looking into that now. We do have live race control in this event, so I'm sure it's being looked at and looked at very intently.
Yep, has been called in by the co-driver of the 818, and actually just seeking confirmation at the moment that it's been received. But yeah, it's definitely one of those spots on the track where it's like, well, if you go for it, that's incredibly risky. And perhaps it's one of those situations where, again, discretion is the better part of the suggested racing conduct at that moment, as Wills was having a very hard time staying out on track there with a car that does not appear to want to turn in. And confirmation that it's being looked at. So we'll see about that in due course as we're checking back in there with your current leader in class for Grand Tour. Reina Costello still aboard that ERT 554. 18.5 seconds back to Kirby Williams in the Eclipse Sim Sports, and then another 23, nearly 24 seconds back to the Brookvale Falcon by Lobbs entry with Van Gisbergen aboard the wheel. And you can see here, starting to make inroads on Williams in that second place machine here, Joe.
Yeah, he's starting to make a little bit of time, not huge chunks, but he doesn't have to make huge chunks of time. You just have to make little by little. I mean, we've still got 45, 50 laps back. If you can make 3/10, 4/10 a lap, that's enough to get him back in the race. So making big chunks of 1 second a lap is not necessary at this point, but the amount he gained on that last lap, that's 0.6 of a second, do that every lap and he's well and truly in the fight for the win.
Yeah, and certainly would be a fool to suggest that SVG was out of contention at the moment, even though he's 42 seconds off the race lead. He's got an hour and 40 minutes almost to make up that deficit. And, well, as things stand, I don't actually quite know where ERT's at on pit strategy relative to the Eclipse and the Evolution cars, given that, well, we've seen the Eclipse, oh, sorry, not the Eclipse and Evolution, the Eclipse and Lobbs cars, because those two have, well, basically have come into the pits recently. The only cars yet to come to the pits since we went live is your ERT Grand Tour that's leading. Also, the Velux Sim Racing 666 Cayman in 7th. Then the Team MFR BMW, the lone BMW in the Grand Tour class, in 9th, along with that 555 middle finger car in 10th. There's one of our McLarens, the number 51 Kiwi Sim Racing entry. Dylan Jordan behind the wheel is taking the next of his stops, and you can see just behind him as well, Jay, unfortunately, that 818 Alpha Venturi racing car has had to come down to the lane. And, well, given the fact that the damage is still present, and, well, the fact also that this is an Oceanic Sim Racing event, there is no fast repairs on hand. You will have to take what the mountain deals out to you here today, even if it's not the best of things that happens.
Yeah, exactly right. You have to take the good with the bad in these ones, and the bad, unfortunately, is meant that that car is fairly heavily damaged. You tried to go around for one more lap, but obviously the car is fairly heavily damaged. Now, this car, Reina Costello, currently on its 28th lap of the stint. We've seen this car do around 29 to 30 lap stints all day long, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this car in the pits on this lap. Also got a battle that's just started out of the pit stop phase. Aaron Gilbert did come into the pits and take a longer stop. He didn't come into the pits. Chris Coxhead came into the pits. Aaron Gilbert got in the car. They've come out behind Dylan Jordan. Dylan Jordan's come out ahead of them. So that battle you see on screen there between Gilbert in the Aston and the McLaren Kiwi Sim Racing number 51, which we saw in the pits, that is for position. They are battling for 5th at this point in the race.
Indeed. And so, as you can see, we get these little battles as in will indeed come Reina Costello as he blinks his way down.
Call me Nostradamus.
In there. And funnily enough, it's as if you can go and have a look at your timing.
No, that was all skill.
Okay, all right, fine. I'd say I could have a look at the timing myself, but genius me opted to, well, actually no. I turned off my monitors when I left the house earlier today.
Those
As we
numbers
have a
on
look at-
screen
Yeah,
is last pit
stationary-
stop time.
I was going to say that, yeah, looks like the time spent stopped in the pit box, and well, that says a lot about time taken. So I'm going to suggest in that case,
Just taking extra tyres.
fuel
Yes.
tyres, unless it's the is it a well? Did Gilbert get in the car? You said he did because Cox gave him the car. Oh no, Dylan Jordan! As we're talking about this strategy components, around goes the 51 of its own volition on the exit of the chase, and well, unfortunately, gives that one to Gilbert for free.
Easiest overtake Aaron Gilbert will make all race long, and probably not the way he wanted to do it. And we're just, as you said, you're just about to talk about the strategy of how this car has gone and got themselves up a position. But is that a difference between new and old tyres? Potentially.
Have a look at it here on the replay, and just, yeah, rear end not pulling up like the front end was at that moment under brakes, and gets away on the way into the corner. And so falls another lap behind your race leaders. Well, actually, no, pardon me. That is no longer the race leader because Sean Linsell. So driver change. I'm almost thinking maybe the driver change is adding... Well, actually, that wouldn't quite make sense, would it? Because driver changes are around 30 seconds.
Yeah, so I'm guessing
most
that
classes.
it's
It
new
must
driver
be
taking
tyres.
tyres to make sure that they're comfortable in the car. Would be my guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we'll get a message from someone around that soon. We could be right, we could be wrong. Probably the second.
Well, I think saying it's the tyres makes... And that would be, I guess, it's interesting because obviously with updates to the iRacing service, notably the cars that compete in your IMSA classes have had modifications to their pit rules, which I guess everyone's been getting used to for the past 2 seasons now. This year with fuel and tyres done simultaneously, I guess...
That still does my head in. I still can't get used to that.
It's an interesting thing, I guess, yeah, because I guess some people, I also heard a little bit of the official iRacing Sebring 12-hour broadcast, and they, of course, brought that up last night during, as part of that. So saying, obviously, like, well, it takes away one strategy component, but also, in addition to the changes to the tyre modelling, means it's a lot harder to double stint tyres. I'll argue almost nigh on impossible at most tracks now in those IMSA classes. But yeah, I think it would look to be the case that these drivers here, when they do tyre change, it's still extending the length of the stop in that Grand Tour category. So that is one worth noting as we check on in. Oh, it was a spin on the exit of the chase. Just on the... It's one of the... the MF Racing number 23, Flat 4. Troy Allen behind the wheel currently.
Oh, he's picked up a
'Cause I think
mechanical black flag from that too.
Oh, dear me. So, big incident there that's happened off screen. Yeah, look at the stance on the front end. So, race leader in Sean... Oh, sorry, P3. Sorry, I keep getting that wrong. Oh, no, he's going to run wide as Troy Allen. Is this going to be all by himself and then painfully slow? The KSR. 51 of Dylan Jordan clips the left front. And that's enough to do that 23 done. I mean, already spawning a fair bit of damage there, Jay, but just on the left front tyre, it would suggest. And, yeah, it doesn't quite look like it there on the pod feed, but from what I can see as a spectator, that left front corner is seriously bent in. And also, I think it's got positive camber on it now as well.
Yeah, it's definitely broken. That's probably the easiest way to describe that car at the moment. Broken. They're going to take a little bit to get that fixed up. Now, when we were looking before around pit stops and the like, we were comparing lap times. Let's have another look here between these two. Look at the last lap time. That gap is now stabilised, but traffic at the right/wrong place is going to change that completely so very quickly. So this gap at 22 seconds, we'll watch that over the next half an hour because it's going to fluctuate more than you will believe.
Yeah, and that will be one to watch. Yeah, as the race goes on, these drivers settle in to this. And as you said, we've got things like expecting a driver change or the Eclipse Sim Sports car. We've just seen a driver change though for that Brookvale Falcon by Lob's entry, so that's probably going to be a big thing that we see here. Now, we were going to look for a second at the two Code 9 Esports 2-litre Tourer entries. You can see that they're about 6 seconds apart, and I think the first one of them narrowly avoided.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. Alan Geel, I just saw him, and that's actually my camera flicked to Alan Geel in the 613, which is a Honda Civic Type R, just having to avoid the then stricken Troy Allen in his Toyota Flat 4. So it was definitely a moment, to say the least. Thankfully,
We'll jump on board his car here, and you can have a look how close it was for Alan Geel.
That's the one of the Sim Black's Flat 4, so we ignore them, as you can see Geel up ahead.
Oh, where am I going? Where am I going? Oh, brakes. He just avoided it, didn't he?
Yeah, a bit of a moment of indecision, because I guess worried that maybe Geel would perhaps think about trying to move the car out of the way. Sorry, Troy Allen, apologies. But thankfully, credit to Troy there, kept that Flat 4 stopped completely still until the track was clear, and allowed the drivers who came upon him to figure that one out for themselves without any further troubles there. Well, we've already made it half an hour now since going live this afternoon. I'm actually curious to see that gap's come down by about 0.8, nearly a second between the two Code 9 machines. So keep our eyes on the 632 here over the course of the next while. Brandon Smith behind the wheel of the Elantra. He can catch Alan Geel as Matthew Brunt. The final running. Actually, that's interesting. We've actually lost.
We've lost the Alpha Venturi car recently.
In the past
15 minutes.
Yeah.
They did bring it into the lane and just park the car. I've also heard that car's had some dramas, and Brady's said himself that he was the idiot that put it in the wall. So his words, not mine. Also getting some background info around the MF Racing number 23. No, not that car. The 10th position car, the 555, from Dan Stevens. Dan brought it into the pits for a pit stop. This is earlier on. They were in 8th. For some reason, it didn't put any fuel in the car. Got back out, got to metal grate, and it coughed out of fuel. And Gavin Copps managed to bring it back down the lane to put fuel in the car, and did then get themselves back going. But they did lose 4 positions from that, so they've gone back to 12th and now back up into 10th after limping it home with no fuel in the tank. So that's pretty good to actually make it home.
It certainly is, because to lose the car barely halfway around the mountain, that's a lot of gravity to help you, yes, but you've then got the climb out of the chase to worry about.
Yeah.
Let alone also not trying to overrun the car, as we get a couple of cars in the lane. One of them being the 666 Alex Sim Racing Porsche Cayman GT4. Sebastian Murray Vesberg currently behind the wheel. We'll see if they change it. It was the Scott KSR Flat 4 ahead of him, who just came into the pits, and then also there the which one of that's the team Sim Blacks Racing car. They do a driver change as well. So Matt Haywood out, Dion de Graaf into the number 8, currently running 3rd in that category as your outright leader. Continues round to start lap 121 of this race, I think, as there is the lovely split view. Show us where SVG's at. And so SVG across the line now, and Williams almost up at the crest on Mountain Straight, so he'll get over the dip there. Comparing last laps though once again, and we can see indeed
more tense.
Van Gisbergen indeed, yeah.
It's really going to be interesting what that gap's down to. I think the thing that could decide this race is whether Kobe Williams stays in the car or whether he swaps over to Dylan Burst. I think Kobe has been a little bit faster looking at lap speed and consistency of pace, but Burst is also no slouch. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting fight between both of those guys coming up to the end. Of course, as you said too, we have the chance of a safety car. We don't know whether we will get one or not. As there's a driver swap there, SVG has got it out of the car. And in now for James Foster. Mark Newton has come in the MFR car, and he's getting out of the car. And in goes Colin Bruns. I always read Colin's name wrong. I apologise, Colin. I do it all the time.
Not guilty as charged there then. Oh, wow. Brennan Smith is absolutely carving margin out of teammate Alan Geel. There we go. Pulls a good 1.7 seconds out of his teammate's advantage on that last lap alone.
Now, part of that too is stint lengths exactly the same for these guys. So they're both now on their 35th lap of their stint, so they're not far off coming in for a pit stop as well.
To note there, indeed. In fact, they might just be in the window here to make it home. With no further stops in that case at 35 laps and doing
There's a stint lengths for you. Yeah, I'll look after you, mate. See, there you go. There's your stint lengths.
Lovely. Well, there we go. Yeah, I was just going to have a look at the sort of lap timings. So 2:18 to 2:15, 2:18 to 20. Yeah, Hobbo and Damon Mulqueen aboard the leading SSR Wave Runner 42 today. Look to be very much in a class of their own in the 2-litre Tourers category. But 2:18 to 2:20 per lap for the drivers in the 2-litre Tourers still circulating. I'm going to suggest something akin to being almost able to make it home on a tank of fuel. You can see there on this particular for Hobbo. What looks like a somewhat sedate 2-minute 20.0 relative to the fastest lap that car's done today so far. But he'll go on for another lap here and get that car a little bit closer to home. As there was actually one thing just at the final corner. A bit of a contact checkup trio involving... oh, hang on. James Foster's currently behind the wheel. I thought that was I saw Mark Noble behind the wheel of the Velux simracing car, alas. Oh, there is, yeah. Dylan Jordan, Mark Noble in the 308 KRF car, and also your flat 4 class leader, Cameron Dance, who is so unfazed about the state of his race. He's just done a massive clutch and coast into Murray's. And we're going to be able to pick it up here because I've named all the cars and Jay is able to spot these things on the session events. So here we go. Because this is an interesting little thing here that happened all of a sudden.
A strange little checkup. Yeah, oh. And the 51 there had to compromise his line big time, didn't he? So almost contact. And as you said too, Cam Dance just driving his own little race at the moment. Yeah,
got a full-on boof actually between the Orbit Motorsport Flat 4 and the rear of Dylan Jordan's McLaren there. So it was close that we closely avoided contact between the 308 and the 51. We got actual contact between the 51 and the number 6 behind it. So miracles do happen sometimes in that the slow car occasionally can give a push. As we head back to live pictures and have a look here at a potential battle that might brew in due course.
This is the closest fight in this class. So these are the two closest cars at the moment. But Jared Farrell in the Whitey's Pies entry, he will still have to come into the pits. So this is looking like a battle at the moment, but could swap around, and Ben Christensen as well in this fight too, potentially. So we could have a 3-car fight for 4th in the Flat 4s class come the end of the night.
That will be interesting. I'm just thinking here, this guy's coming into the pits now, with an hour and 20 to go, doing 2-minute 35s for the case of your race leader at least, class leader I should say, which is enough to sort of hold everyone at margin. I'm just trying to think of, is that going to be enough to make it home from here? Because it might be a little close, as Henry Thomas Kircher is now aboard the number 7. Scott KSR car indeed has just taken over the wheel from Robert Henry in that vehicle. As we check in with Van Gisbergen aboard that Brookvale Falcon by Lobs Mercedes AMG, and he is certainly not hanging around. That was a bit of hustle out of the exit of the grate. As we also have the gaps there on the screen. and he either just grazed the wall there on the exit of the dipper, or a bit of a desync there for us observing. As it looks like some good news of sorts. Troy Allen has been able to repair the 23 MF Racing Flat 4. It is now, unfortunately, the last running car in this race, but only a lap behind Stead Miller's 27, although the Excalibur Esports in number 27. So, you know, should either misfortune for the Excalibur car or safety car potentially calling something to strategy there, you know, it's not completely out of it for Troy and his co-driver in that MF racing machine. We have Dean Alessi.
This car here of Brandon Smith is now just lost a second with that overtake there from the Team Jinx Shifters car, but still within that 5-second bracket. So it's still our closest fight on track we're between teammates now on the 37th lap of this stint too. So it means that these guys, as you said, they were likely to get all the way to the end, but I think now it's almost guaranteed. Now, you notice that car just up ahead. That's Brett Loxton. He's had a massive issue and into the wall.
Oh, my word. I mean, Smith, massive evasive issues there. What has happened to...
Mechanical black flag too.
Oh, my word. Yeah, big troubles for the 209 Jinx Shifters car. And, oh, no, across the top at McPhillamy. Here it is on the replay. He's running wide up on the curb.
And haven't gone to the right lap, have I?
You've gone, I think, one lap too far.
One lap too far. Let's try it again.
He goes a little bit wider at the top of McPhillamy. And crucially, just missing the apex. And that did the J-Duns. Here we go. Let's try this again. So, yeah, you can see they're wide of the curb. Bounce up over it and hard.
Well, that front wheel stopped moving.
And yeah, that left front is no good anymore. And the right rear up in the ground because Smith is all kinds of paranoid. Out in the marbles, will
having trouble getting it turned at the chase to get it back to the pits. He can't turn it left at all.
Yeah, this is going to be a nasty trip to get this thing into the pit lane. He's going to back it right off. Oh, at low enough speeds, it does comply. So thankfully, pit entry isn't too much of a drama for him and therefore no one else. But unfortunately, that will eliminate a car from, well, it would have been an outside contention, but nevertheless, it does eliminate them from a solid P4 for the day. And that damage repair will probably take them at least 10 minutes.
Now this car here, the V8 Sim Racing car, they are trying to hold on a lap from the Kiwi Sim Racing entry. So they're trying their best and don't want to go a lap down, but last few laps by, almost identical pace. So they could be okay to hold on. Maybe.
Yeah. Let's have a look here. Yeah, both cars have done a stop. The Velux car might just be in the window to have done its final stop for the day. Dylan Jordan, though, has been out for 8 laps already. I'm thinking at that kind of rate, unless they can stretch the economy on that McLaren an extremely long way, he might need a splash, whereas that Velox Cayman that just went in through the foreground a shot might be all right to make it through, as we see there.
That's a sad sight, isn't it?
Yeah, now P6, well now P6 because Jordan's car goes through into 5th with that exchange of one car on track, one car in the pits. And yeah, well, a tough day. Well, a tough ending, I should say, for that car. And brutally cut short is about all I can say for it, as progress again by SVG, which has just been helped by a flat 4 of Thomas Kircher minding his business on the exit of the chase. And Williams had to jump on the anchors a couple of times to not run up the rear end of that car. You can see on that last lap, and yeah, last lap was also quite painful for Williams as well.
Yeah, 15.3, so or 15.4 essentially, as SVG is going to find a little bit of negative assistance there right at the last corner, but still didn't lose out too much ground. Still did a 14 flat, so his pace is still immense, as we know it should be. 19 seconds with 75 minutes to go. He's got it down 4 seconds in, what, 20 minutes? So, yeah, I mean, he's probably not pushing it 100%. He's probably also thinking about fuel strategy at the moment too. And one thing that we did notice is that pit stop times between these guys at the last stop was very, very different. So it's likely that the Eclipse InSport guys may need to take a pit stop at that last stop. Sorry, a tyre change at that last pit stop. That could negate all of that time advantage that Kobe Williams has. But then that also comes back to him at the end with better tyres at the end too. So lots of mind games within the race at the moment too. So this is going to be a fantastic finish.
Yeah. There is the big question of, well, does Kobe need tyres? Presumably Kobe does need tyres, because otherwise his double stint, we're asking almost a double and a half stint, bordering on triple stint here in that car, and that might just make things even worse. As just checking in with one of our Whitey's Pies entries, number 65, Curtis Bird. Now,
they're fifth. It's coming up wrong in the timing because they actually opted to start from the pit lane. So they're in fifth in class, 22nd overall, but they've just made their pit stop. Remember, we said that they were in fourth, battling with the Team Simblacks. Sorry, third in class, battling with Team Simblacks as the closest battle in that class. Well, they've made that stop now and dropped back in behind that Team Simblacks and also ANZ Motorsport number 9.
Yeah, and they're definitely good on fuel, whereas those other two flat fours might be a tiny bit touch and go, depending on how they save fuel. As both the Code 9 Esports 2-litre Tourers make their way into the lane to get their final service of the day done. Now, this will be important because we'll see here up on the jacks goes Gilles, and he will do a driver change. Sean Hart going to be the one to bring that car home there. And it looks like, though, no, Lawrence Clark is getting aboard the 632 Hyundai Elantra. So both Code 9 cars getting a driver change. At least 2 tyres on the front to freshen that thing up, because you can potentially double stint the rears, given you're not putting any power through them. It's just about how you drive it, I guess, and how much it slips and slides. But we'll see. Yeah, Brenton Hobson's coming in as well, so that gap will stay at 1 lap. But the fact that Hobbo bringing the class-leading TCR in just as the Code 9 cars are heading out of the pits only just now really does speak to the fact how strong the lead is for that SSR 42. We also saw there for a moment the Orbit Motorsport Venus car in the lane. Simon Zomo is going to be entrusted with finishing.
That's a bad move
in the number 6.
He won't mind me saying that either, that's a bad move. And out goes Hobbo, in goes Mulqueen into the car. So Damon Mulqueen jumping in. No surprise to see Damon getting involved in a TCR event. He loves driving that car, racing in some European TCR racing leagues, and not doing too bad a job either. So good to see him out on track in this event today.
Yeah, the World Touring Car Series, to be precise. Actually, got a chance to watch a couple of those races. Unfortunately, given it's primarily, as you said, for a European audience and driving group, it does start at the crack of sunrise for us on a Friday morning, which is not quite my cup of tea and ideal time of day. But I guess Dane does get a bit of a helping hand living in Queensland. But
can tell you don't have kids.
Correct. I am very much. I'm still very much the child. That's the answer.
That's a good way to put it. You saw the SVG's gap now down to 18 seconds. So the last couple of laps, he's really started to make inroads. So 2 factors to that. 1, he's starting to push a little bit harder. But 2, Kobe now, what's that, 37, 38 laps on this set of tyres, we believe. So that's now starting to really hurt them.
Also, traffic has been quite nasty.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of moments where Kobe just had to wait on flat fours in particular. So the greatest discrepancy at some awkward spots as well, for good measure.
And that's not saying that the guys in the flat forecast have done anything wrong. It's just bad luck, bad timing, bad positioning. And that happens in multi-class racing. It has forever, and it will forever. That's one of the things that we love and hate about multi-class racing. And I think we probably love it as spectators, but hate it as drivers.
Yeah, it's one of the things where it ratchets up the tension for us, going like, oh, who's Kobe going to catch next? Can he get past them in a convenient spot? Like, here we go, one of the Chink shifters, flat fours, and thankfully, in his case, Henry King able to be somewhat negotiable there in the 52. Saw that one coming and was able to stay as left as the 86 permitted it.
This is just something I wanted to highlight. We talk about the pace difference. Fastest lap for Kobe Williams is the fastest lap of the race, only just by 0.03 of a second over Rainer Costello, but a 2:12.7. Compare that to the fastest lap of the 86 class, the Toyota GR86, which is set by Ewan Baker's car, the Scott KSR entry, but pretty similar time, a 2:32. So 10 seconds give or take difference. 20 seconds give or take difference in pace between our fastest and slowest class. Compare that back to the TCR class. That gap is a lot closer, only about 5 or 6 seconds between them. So catching the Toyota 86, the flat four for both classes, is painful, but a necessary evil in this race. One that, as I said, we love as a spectator, but you catch them at the wrong time as a driver, you hate it. But if you watch in the background and see your opponent catch them at the wrong time, you then have a little cheeky smile on your face.
Yeah, it is the give and take in multi-class.
Speaking of, here we go. Right on cue.
Yeah.
Sean Linsel's caught everyone at the wrong spot.
Yep, had to wait a bit there. And then a little bit of a wobble there. So gets by Tula Tura, gets by Sean Hart. The flat four there would be which one is that going to be? That is going to be the ANZ Motorsports car of Ben Christensen. He's also just passed by. So they work their way down into the chase.
Looks like the HJR Jinx Shifters 209 car. They may be race done. Unfortunately, they're very heavily damaged, still in the pits from that incident we saw at the top of the mountain. I'm wondering too, is the incident we saw there, was that a driver error, or was there some other part to that too? Because it was very uncharacteristic for Loxton to make that sort of error in a car that isn't as high powered as the car he normally drives.
I mean, the way the setup appeared, just it didn't turn in for McPhillamy and just ended up off the line that you'd normally like to take. I kind of think it suggests that it was just an unfortunate mistake.
It's a lapse in concentration over a very long race.
Yeah, and it just didn't get it turned in when it needed to be, and it, as a result, proceeded to understeer into the marbles that are up the top, and then, well, before you know it, you're up and over the curb there. And with these cars having a sort of a bit more road-like suspension and therefore softer and more compliance, it just sort of wallowed its way over the curb, and that was enough to completely spook the rear, let alone add traction control kicking in with the grass, and it's just a recipe. Oh man, okay. Speaking of recipes, that one there was nearly the nasty one. So we've got Christensen, who's been followed by Lawrence Clark for the moment, and then we just had the 43 of David Lord show up on the scene, and they were in reverse order with regard to class pace, and that nearly went all kinds of wrong under the Fujitsu sign there.
This one is actually for outright position too here. So David Lord and Lawrence Clark, this is for 15th outright in the event. Not that means a huge amount when you look at the results, but I mean, it is still for position on track, but I mean, it's not going to be fought too hard here. Through goes David Lord. He'll continue on and try and hunt down Sean Hart, who is a teammate there to Lawrence Clark, and Clark's probably hoping that he can slow him down a little bit so they can bridge that gap back down to the 5, 6, 7 seconds that it was earlier.
I mean, yeah, the big challenge there is that when you're trying to mind your own business, you don't get the blue flags that you normally get for a faster class car approaching. In Clark's case, so he might be focused on trying to figure out where's a good time to get past that flat 4 of Christensen, and then all of a sudden there's the Mercedes GT4 of Lord on his rear bumper trying to find a way through as well, because he's not been given that sort of heads up from the blue flags.
Oh, we got an issue.
Fact, as you said, for outright spot. Okay, issue on track.
This car is slow. This car is very slow.
Oh, yes, indeed. Curtis Burt, the 65 Whitey's Pies car, is doing 100 kph. If lucky, will be caught by a race leader. Thankfully, after the crest on Commodore means that Williams goes around. What has Bird done to this one? I'm going to back it up here and try and find the moment. He's
found
going
the moment,
slow.
but it doesn't look like much. But I think there's more to this. Is this car actually not put fuel in? Has there been an issue with the fuel? Because look, you look here, it's not going fast. Runs a little bit wide, hits the wall. I mean, it doesn't look like there's much to that. Although, actually, no, I'll take that back. That rear tyre's gone down. The rear right tyre's gone flat.
Oh, yep, drive shaft broken by the contact.
Yeah, right. Didn't look like much in that at all.
All of a sudden, he's got absolutely nothing in terms... Yeah, the drive shaft snapped from that contact. Drive shaft / right rear suspension gone. So, yeah. I can actually hear... Insane. I've actually had to go onboard cockpit to confirm that for you. But yeah, I can just hear the flapping of the whole right rear assembly in the moment. But yeah, we can just see it there on board with a closer look. So that's unfortunately going to be effectively day done as well, you'd think, for the Whitey's Pie 65. I'll try and get that car fixed up, I'm sure, but...
It'll be difficult to fix it and get back out, isn't it?
That's going to be a long repair. Yeah, getting a full right rear suspension and drive line assembly sorted out, so that is definitely unfortunate.
And their recovery too, they had a big moment at the chase too. Watch this as they're coming down, as we're just watching here. Carl Sampson make his way through. No, he just backs out of it, decides not to go through the TCR traffic. Have a look at this for Bird as he comes into the chase. He's only doing 110 k's an hour. And then just see the front wheels launch up off the ground. I don't think there was any front wheels on the ground there.
Yeah. So not just driveline broken, but suspension too, and yeah, just unable to handle the fact that the car was loaded like that. As David Lord brings the 43 OPR Mercedes to the lane. That should be their final stop of the race. And they're going to well and truly make it home there with an hour and 2 minutes on the clock, and doesn't go up on the jacks straight away there. So that's interesting, to say the least. Williams, on his 22nd lap of a stint, stays out again, but gap down under 17 seconds. It continues to shrink.
It's not shrinking as fast now, though, I don't think. I mean, we've seen it go from 23 down to 20 very quickly, and then the 20 down to 18 took a long time, and now it's, you know, slowly getting back up there. But I mean, that lap there, what's that? 2/10 again? Actually, I take that back completely. This is an interesting decision. They're in the lane.
There we go. Going to try the undercut here. Van Gisbergen and Newman. So we'll
SVG will likely stay in the car,
but goes up on the jacks. So now, unfortunately, didn't do my homework on terms of what does this car do in a pit stop when we're spectating it. But we'll watch here for the final. It should be a full tank of fuel. Question is whether he's going to get some, or maybe even get all tyres done. Again, all tyres would be a lengthy stop if everything we've seen so far in these final 2 hours would suggest for this Grand Tour category. Will be Sean Mansell to retake second place in class.
Maybe.
There go 39.4. He should. I think Mansell will just get through. I think we go. Gisbergen is just off the lane behind these two. There you go. Out and away we go. With a second between them. Also, Aaron Gilbert in the Jinx shift is 203. Makes get down for the final stop. But no, they're going to be a driver change there and put Chris Coxhead behind the wheel of the 203 to finish that one off. So, Kobe Williams, now we await his final stop of the race. The other curious thing is, yeah, we've got cars like Linsell and Dylan Jordan, 15, 16 laps into a stint. They owe us a pit stop, presumably though for fuel only. So could bring the ERT Merc into, well, a little bit closer into play at least. Williams will go another lap as we are counting down the seconds now, Jay, to 1 hour left on the race clock here at Bathurst.
And one thing to note about Linsell, his pace hasn't been as good as Williams and SVG in front of him, but his consistency seems to be there, and he doesn't seem to be having quite as much bad luck with traffic. So those bad laps that we're seeing from Williams and SVG where they're getting caught in traffic, we're not seeing those fluctuations for Linsell. His lap times at his fastest aren't as fast as SVG and Williams, but his slower lap times are a lot faster, just purely based on where he gets the cars, as that's a car around.
It is Colin Bruns in the number 97 Team MFR entry. So, small error there has cost that car a bit of time.
A self-inflicted injury here for this car.
It's in hot. It's in hot, and unfortunately the rear end says no thank you. Then got to get it refired. Try and get the traction control to cut, perhaps, to allow you to help flick spin the thing. And well, SVG's not hanging around. He's going to put pedal to the metal. Might have a full tank of fuel, but still going to go faster than Linsell at this moment in the race. What you're looking at it here is Dylan Jordan's just come to the pit lane as well in the 51. So final stop for the KSR or Kiwi Sim Racing Speed Nation team, I should say, because there is technically another team, another of the KSR cars out there, and it's called KSR Speed Nationwide. So Kiwi Sim Racing Speed Nation, KSR Speed Nation, technically two different teams for the purposes of the conversation this afternoon.
The 51 car and the 46 car, I reckon, is the easiest way to do it. The KSR 51 and KSR 46. I get confused with all the team names.
I mean, yes, that is definitely the sensible way to go about this, but whoever said I did things sensibly?
Well, look, I've known you for long enough to know that you don't.
I often do, yes, a bit of extra. As there we go, with all of that, Coxhead gets the HGR 203 back to P4 in the process. Let's continue to watch Van Gisbergen eke out a 10th here, a 10th there, as we then also go to the vision from Linsell's rear bumper as he works his way down the hill off of the elbow. Sorry, no, it's not the elbow, that's the dipper. This is the elbow. Know your corners, for shame.
Hey, you were worried before that you were getting the corners wrong around the back part of the circuit. That part's the hard bit. This part that we just talked about was the easy bit. You got that wrong.
Yeah, slam dunk that I've completely...
You did get the other bit right earlier, though, if you wanted to realise that. Just to make you feel a bit better.
Hooray, yay. Makes me feel so much better about completely self-owning on the order of the dipper and the elbow, despite having called at least 2 SCOPS Bathurst 1000s and parts of a OSR Bathurst 12 hour. Yeah, real good accuracy there. Alas, not really that important to the conversation, I guess. Now, interesting on that lap, Van Gisbergen got the gap down to about 3/4 of a second here on Linsell, but he hasn't actually moved into it, and yeah.
Same lap time, pretty much, give or take a 100th, 200ths between SVG and Kobe Williams on that lap. So I'm thinking cold tyres are giving similar pace to fairly heavily worn tyres for Kobe Williams.
That would seem, about right.
Maybe the next 2 laps, if he can get past, I mean, it's a big if here, getting past Linsell. Linsell's going to defend this, obviously, but he obviously still has to give up a pit stop. But if he can get past here relatively quickly, SVG, then we're going to see the real usage of these newer tyres.
And also, low fuel for that 554 Mercedes at the moment. Seems to be doing
and the
just
994.
that too, but crucial just to this, within respect to these two cars right now here together. I'd say, yeah, the lower fuel, obviously, and being in the middle of the stint here for Linsell, just that little bit of extra help. I mean, Van Gisbergen will gain a half a tenth or a tenth or so here and there, but up and down the straights in particular, where the speed's going to matter the most, Linsell's hanging on, but he also makes a bit of time there through the bottom of the S's and the dipper, although it was a little loose in saying that, which is then reflected by the update there as we get to the elbow. And now it's not the great run through the elbow Linsell really needed. Here comes Van Gisbergen, now well and truly in the slipstream.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty straightforward, I would guess. It's not going to take much for him to get through. In saying that, Willie, or does he need to save maybe a lap or two of fuel? I don't think he does. Through he goes, and that's move done relatively quickly, relatively easily. And we'll get a bit of a comparison on the lap time as he crosses the line as well. But Linsell gives up that spot, didn't fight it in the slightest, and he may be deciding now. I was about to say whether to save fuel, but he's decided now's the time to come into the pits. Not a bad decision.
Had done 17 laps in that stint currently. Doesn't need to do a full tank of fuel. So actually, I think in that case, they've gotten to the point where they can now top the car up to make it home. And from here, and say it based on the fact that we've had Van Gisbergen in 3 laps ago. They'll be just shy of a full tank at this point, I would think, when the refill is finished. And then we'll see exactly where Linsell pops out on the road as we compare laps once again. This time, advantage Williams by almost 0.2.
A couple of other battles starting to unfold as well. We've still got that Code 9 Esports battle going on. They're about 12 seconds apart. We've got Team Simblacks and ANZ Motorsports. They're about 20 seconds apart in the battle they are having in the Toyota 86. Reina Costello has come out full lap ahead, or just on a lap ahead of Chris Coxhead. So Coxhead is about to lose the lap that he just got back. So he'll be trying his best to maintain this lap. He has pitted in this car, the 203 for Chris Coxhead. So he'll be wanting to hold onto that spot.
And if we have a shot where we can hold it, look who's coming round Griffin's Bend there in the bright green and very easy to identify. 994 of Coatwins actually nearly has a lap on Costello, although of course that is a temporary arrangement as we await Williams bringing that car to the lane for its final stop of the race here as we approach 52 minutes to go. And the question then stands, will we see a driver change out of the Eclipse Sims again? All 3 classes as we come up to McPhillamy, including 2 of your leaders. And Nozomo not too impressed by the way that was handled there. Quick flash of the lights on that Orbit Motorsport 86. Like a bit of a dicey moment there with Lawrence Clark, the ending up the meat in the sandwich of that one there, Jay.
It was a bit of a interesting little battle there. We just actually have seen a change of position out on track as well. We've just seen this car here, the Alpha Venturi green entry. We saw this car in trouble not that long ago. Remember, we saw that car involved in an incident with the OPR car, which has come back out onto the track after a long pit stop. They have just taken 10th outright away from this car, passing Damon Mulqueen in the Synergy Sim Racing entry. So now the top 10 outright is top 10 in class.
Yeah. Yeah, barring massive issues, that's not too shocking there, but it took us over 5 hours to get that back, as it were. But, well, yeah, Mulqueen.
I just said that this car left the lane and got back out on track. They've come straight back in.
Indeed, they have.
That car must still have a fair bit of damage to it after we saw Lord come in for a 2.5 minute pit stop earlier. He's come back in again.
Try an iRacing black flag.
Okay, that will be it. That'll make sense.
incident points or perhaps making a mistake on pit exit. Be one of the two. We do have relatively strict incident limit of 20x before
I can
the first
confirm
drive.
they are on 20 incidents, so that is what that is for.
All right, there you go. Unfortunately, the OPR by Lob's customer racing car making a small error there, and looks like they might have also chosen to park that car there, so that will eventually elevate the second of the SSR 2-litre Tourer cars up a spot. There it goes, as we focus in on what will become an inter-team fight there, it looks like. So the team MFR BMW with Colin Bruns behind the wheel, so I have to watch out for now, is it Team Boss or just
Yeah, Team Boss. Well, look,
Team Boss?
if it's not Team Boss, it's the bossy one within the team. Dan will be listening to this in the background too, so he's probably just cracked up laughing as I've said that. But, Dan Stevens, of course, one of the men behind Middle Finger Racing, he'll be trying to recover to get back to where they were. I said earlier that they had issues and dropped back to 12th in class and now back up into 9th. They'll be wanting to get back to 8th where they were before they had that issue around refueling the car. So only 4.5 seconds back. Last lap by gained 1.5 seconds. So he's closing and closing quick is Dan Stevens.
Okay, so that's potentially a done deal in terms of getting there. And again, never say never. It's the mountain, and we still have 3 classes of race car sharing the circuit.
Last lap, SVG
okay, interesting there.
did take a few tenths of a second. The reason that last lap there for Kobe Williams is so short because he's in the pits.
All right, here we go. Final stop of the race for the Eclipse Sim Sports 994, your race leader. Is this fuel? Is this fuel and tyres? Is this fuel, tyres and driver change? It is the driver change coming in. Dylan Burse going to get behind the wheel, so presumably tyres aboard the 994 as well. Van Gisbergen exits the elbow and sets that car off down Conrad straight. All right. It is game on here as we wait to see how long until Burst drops off the jacks.
SVG's had no traffic on this lap either, so this has been an all-out attack lap for SVG. Van Gisbergen, he'll be looking to set the timing board alight on this one. See what the time is when he crosses the line here.
Coming up to Murray's. Burst just off the jacks now, and oh wow, okay, so solid advantage in the hands of Burst. 13.9 for Van Gisbergen there as Burst exits the lane. Got himself about 9 seconds, coming down just under that now as the gap stabilizes.
Yeah, 9.3.
Pace. Yeah, I see 8. Okay, the thing is, I'm using 18 to monitor everything, and I'm seeing 8.9, but tit for tat, and it doesn't really matter because, well, Burst has got, there you go.
Traffic.
He's got runs to lap, and will that be Mulqueen? No, it's Brady Baldwin aboard the 07, the second of the Wave Runner SSR car. So that there just a moment to stall his progress out of the box. But hey, that also means Van Gisbergen's going to negotiate them as well at some point. Oh, and one of the Scott KSR flat 4s as well. So be very busy across the top on this particular lap as Bruns has tried around the outside of that flat 4 and it nearly went awry. Oh, no, Baldwin gets through okay, just. And there's also the Jinx Shifters flat 4 is slow there on the outside of the S's, but thankfully out of the way of Van Gisbergen. But SVG is going to come up on the 3 cars ahead of him.
He might get them on the straight. He might time this beautifully and then get him an advantage because he's got them down the straight or at least in the braking zone of the chase.
He'll get the flat 4 easy, but I don't think he's catching either of the TCR or the
I think he's going to be okay and get them on mountain straight or down the front straight. I don't think he's going to get too held up. But,
Yeah,
but look at this. Another little hold-up moment there for Dylan Burst. This outlap has been absolutely horrible for him.
traffic everywhere. I mean, you try and get out as fast as you can with pits as you can, but it looks like not really timing that right in terms of executing the strategy call. Maybe is that something where you should have looked at trying to come one lap earlier to find yourself some clean air on the circuit in terms of where you come out of? Because
in saying that, they come in one lap earlier, they still end up in the same situation, don't they? Because the traffic's still got to be there. They're just when they get it is the only difference. So come in one lap early, probably needed to go one lap later to have that traffic avoid each other. But in saying that, that's easier said than done. Stevens is right there on Bruns now too.
Yep, that whole thing is brought the two together.
Oh, I like that gap, 1.234. That's beautiful.
And
slow down a bit, Dan. Drop it back. There we go. There it is again.
well, let's see, at 1.134. So, indeed, unfortunately, short-lived there for you, as using up all of the digits in sequence. As these two begin to fight for that 8th place outright slashing class here on the mountain with just under 45 minutes remaining. The only cars left to stop actually would include the Velux Sim Racing 666, the MFR 97, maybe the MFR, the middle finger 555 as well.
Yeah, I think they'll have to pit. They've still got 14, 15 laps left in this stint, so they're going to have to come back in. We've still got, what, 21 laps to go?
Thereabouts.
Yeah, so Bruns is going to have to come back in for sure because he's not going to get 31 laps to a stint, considering we're saying 28, 29 was about the limit. Dan Stevens going to be right on it, so he might be okay.
I'm really curious to watch.
Oh, no, sorry, let me take that back. That's 36 and 41 laps each. No, they're not going to make it. They need to pit again.
Yeah. That, also, there you go. Van Gisbergen catches these cars now. Stevens, a non-issue, thankfully.
Last lap for Burst, his first flying lap, a 2:13.4 and 2:13.5 for SVG, so no time advantage gain there for SVG. But he's going to get some draft help up Mountain Straight. Downfall is he's got to overtake and may have some traffic at the braking point. I don't think he's going to get past that BMW at the front of the group, that being Colin Bruns. But a lot of the traffic has been pretty good in getting out of the way of the guys that are battling for wins in classes. So don't be surprised if Bruns gets on the brakes and runs it a little bit wide to let SVG through.
Here at the cutting, oh no, he
right on cue. Almost like I've seen it all day.
Guilty is charged for not actually having a chance to look back at how drivers.
I've got some good news.
Indeed, that's a certain 209 Jinx Shifters HJR Aston Martin looking a little bit more repaired.
Only a 13.5-minute pit stop, but they're back out there.
Yeah, has a pit time to show for it. But yes, that's looking a fair bit more assembled and repaired.
So is this car.
And indeed, Curtis Bird has stayed aboard. Now, actually, what did that take for Curtis?
11.5 minutes.
Yeah, 11.5 minutes. So, yeah. No small feats get doing a full driveline suspension repair on those kinds of cars. But it's all played out just like they would have hoped. As we go on board with the 555 of Dan Stevens. Let's see here. Doesn't close all that much in a straight line, Jay, but every little bit will help at this point. Although, as you said, we'll be expecting a pit stop from both of these cars. Plus also the Velux Sim Racing came in at some point to splash and dash, but that was a very good run off the chase relative to Bruns, who's then a little wide at Murray's corner for good measure. Oh, Brunt's not going to give it up very easy.
There's going to be a fair bit of rivalry here,
Oh,
isn't there? No, he does give it up.
no.
No, he's giving it up too
No.
easy. No, don't let Dan through that easy.
Colin, we wanted to see the scrap.
Yeah, we wanted to see him earn that position, but I mean, he has, because he's now back into 8th, but I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to break away now as well. Let's get another look at the lap last time by. It's the wrong button. There we go. 13.7 for SVG, 13.6 for Burst. So Burst is starting to pull a little bit of ground here.
It's interesting to note, indeed. Fresh tyres and, well, most of a tank of fuel versus slightly used tyres and, well, about the same fuel you'd think, but not as freshly filled. And looks like Burst might just have the edge here today. I mean, I was busy racing Shane in the first time slot of the Sebring 12 hour yesterday, and, well, he might have been doing all his sim work to prepare for that more than this, I dare suspect, because he was absolutely flying out there and officially won time slot 1 by a full lap in his Ferrari GT3 for that race. So I might wager that's sort of where the preparation went, funnily enough, given that at the same time, Shane also part of Team Redline. There's a possibility maybe doing some, basically a test run of a car setup that may have been used later on in the day for the major splits, and all kinds of possibilities. Either way, just because he's not quite the fastest at the moment now here, that just may be a case of priorities for someone like Shane.
I mean, we've seen in races we've covered previous how fast he is. There's no doubting his sim racing ability, so I'm pretty sure he's okay in the real world too. I've heard rumours about that, but his sim racing prowess is very, very good. He wasn't racing in the real world and was sim racing full time. I'm pretty sure he'd be right up there within the top echelon of most series he competed in. Gap still at 9.2. He's lost another 0.2 on that last lap. But is he conserving something in the tyres for later on in the race?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Still could be that, yeah, making sure that the car is going to be in its prime on low fuel when it's all set and done. Now, that's good to see in terms of a potentially brewing scrap. Lawrence Clark is carving the gap back down to Sean Hart, despite the fact it blew out to nearly 12 seconds after they completed their final stops in those Code 9 Esports TCRs. So that fight for second in class could get a little exciting here before all is said and done today. But still going to have to do some work. Oh, Burst has hit some traffic on the way down to the elbow. That's cost him about half a second or so. Got stuck behind the Whitey's Pies flat 4 for a moment. Not too bad, though, all things considered there, Joe.
He's got away with it okay. Probably, as you said, half a second, give or take. But SVG's lost half a second on the previous 2 laps, so it's negated that disadvantage. But one thing about it, you see Burst there. He's just coming in a shot there, and then we'll go back and we'll be able to see SVG the same camera shot. We haven't been able to see him in the same camera shot for a little while. This has been one of SVG's best laps in a long time.
Yep. See how those numbers update in a moment. Look at that, those right to the edge of the track limits all through the chase. So Burst, there we go, updates to a 14.1.
So lost maybe a second on that lap then.
We'll see here, it's across the line for SVG.
14.1.
And also 14.1, okay, so the traffic giveth, it taketh away, and it may do it at exactly the same time in exactly the same amount, in exactly the same doses.
It's very interesting, isn't it? The back and forth going on. It's still lots and lots to go in this race too, which is going to make it very, very interesting to watch all the way to the end. Guess what battle's still going?
Hey, good to see. Colin Bruns has not given up on the rear bumper of Dan Stevens
Look at the last lap time there comparison. So Dan Stevens has lost a heap of ground on that previous lap.
Doesn't look all that composed through the corners at the moment here, as they're both coming to the end of their penultimate tanks of fuel. 19 laps complete for Stevens, 21 for Bruns. It's interesting to note here, although better out of the cutting for the 555, but traffic ahead means that they'll have to sort of it. This is a replay, so the 51 KSR McLaren looking to the inside of the Sim Blacks number 8. Great.
What's that one?
Dicey. But, and the Scott KSR car. Able to stay aside. There we go. Everything okay? I think so.
Yep.
And then, unfortunately, it's going to be the 632 Code 9 car of Lawrence Clark that takes the big L, waiting for the opportunity to present. In fact, Lawrence actually waits until after they exit Forest Hill to make the move. Unfortunately, that gap blows out to 8, nearly 9 seconds in the process there. He's also just had to deal with Carl Sampson going down by the chase, I think. No, sorry, it's Matthew Pluck aboard the 51. So gap has indeed ballooned once more for now.
I think it's going to continue to ebb and flow, though, isn't it? The gap there. So don't be surprised to see that chop and change throughout the event. Now, this car that we are seeing just coming in the shot there, that is the leader of our Toyota 86 class. That's Simon Mazzomo. He's got nearly a minute over Henry Thomas Kircher in that class. So we've got a fairly lengthy gap. And then we go back to this battle. Look there, it says it's half a second. It's actually one full lap and half a second.
Right. Well, there you go.
It's looked like it was way more exciting than it actually was.
I was like, hang on a second. Then I look up at my timing and go, no, that's a
full
lap
plus.
Timing tower also on your end says a lap. That's slower than usual
very slow.
moving. And the right front corner looks slightly funny from that angle.
That right rear looks heavily damaged too.
Yeah, actually, you're right. The right rear is the one that looks funnier. The right side drew my attention. All right.
Oh, okay.
Can we figure out where Ben Christensen has unfortunately found a bit of wall, one would suspect?
Can't find wall, but I can find incident.
Okay, incident then. Comes down into the chase. That's a bit deep, Ben. That's a bit deep, Ben. Good old power. Okay, so maybe it's a bit of a power slide there. And all of that lost momentum as a result.
Lucky that there hasn't been a rescan of Bathurst, because that would have been wall. That wall now moved over towards the track to make sure that we don't see another Paul Radisich incident. One thing that Christensen has in his favour, he's got a minute behind to have Henry King come up to him, but he's also got a minute to gain a spot ahead. So he's got a lot of work to do to gain, but got a lot of time behind to not stress about anyone.
Yeah, it's probably one of those situations where at half an hour to go, you focus on consolidation and not having any more issues, even if the pace potentially, well, the option could potentially be. It's a lot to ask of a car that's doing 2 minutes, a car category doing laps in the 2-minute 30s, to find a minute. Because that would be got no more than, 13 laps? So it would have to be finding somewhere in the tune of, Damon Mulqueen, hang on to that. Just going to give us a bit of excitement there. As your class leader in the 2-litre Tourers gets a little bit loose at the rear into the chase.
Let me unmute my microphone. He's got a 1.5 minute advantage over Sean Hart, plus a lap. So that's a full 1.5 lap advantage in that class at the moment.
Yeah. She has Anthony Green in the 308 Cayman and Thomas Hinds in the 209 Aston Martin, who are technically in between him and anyone else in that 2-litre category. It's coming back down again. That's another half, or almost half a second exactly, close enough to call it. There, advantage Van Gisbergen. So it's just been a bit of a slow wind up, perhaps. Although Burst's off the pace more so than Van Gisbergen, really setting an absolute heater. On that last one, I would suggest, Jay. So I would just suggest traffic for the 994, and he'd like to get past Lawrence Clark here pronto. Will do so thanks to the speed difference down at Conrod fairly easily there.
See if there's much change at the line in comparison for these two. At the line last lap by, the official gap was 8.6 seconds. So I'll see if it does close in. Actually, before we do that, worry about that. There's been an incident out on track. I'll try and see if I can find it. No, there hasn't been an incident out on track. I'll just shut up. I just noticed the Alpha Venturi green car coming into the pits, and it absolutely threw me off on my timing screen. 2/10 gained.
There we go. Burst a little quicker on that one. A bit more like what he would prefer, I think.
This is a nice aggressive pit entry, though.
Ah, so that would be why it flagged itself for us here. So the 818s.
Oh, that's wall.
Oh, dear. Matthew Pignata, while currently behind the wheel, I presume still, or was the one who might have been driving at the time, unfortunately.
Yep.
In a bit deep. Then it corrects into the wall. And the left front says, hey, not happy. As he's still up on the jacks. Although, already down and away there.
Fairly standard pit stop.
Yeah, not.
Don't start that.
Sorry.
Don't start that. What I was about to say, though, is you notice the way he came out of the pits there, gave the wheel a big hard yank to make sure there wasn't too much damage. So I'm guessing there was some damage that needed to be fixed and decided, no, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to push on. So hopefully that car still is okay. Because remember, it has been in the wars throughout the day.
It has. And so I think it's a case, yeah, a case of just making sure it's all right. Maybe, yeah, just was in there, took a chunk of damage repair, and then get back on with it. Let's check back in with the fight for second in the 2 Litre Tourer category. Lawrence Clark desperately trying to catch Sean Hart. Did I say Lawrence Hart or did I say Sean Clark? No. Oh, well,
I don't know what you said. I've stopped listening.
Yeah,
not
look,
because
yeah,
I'm not listening. It's because my brain's not working.
Yeah, apparently I've got bare essential functionality turned on at the moment as well. That might be because I stayed up watching a bit too much of the iRacing Sebring 12-hour last night just to see how top split.
Can confirm I didn't watch any this year. Sorry, apologies to our friends at RaceSpot for not watching, but I will watch it during the week.
But yes, Clark continuing to make decent headway on Hart. There, I'll really emphasise because yeah, Clark Hart, you could probably fudge the numbers there. On that particular lap, though, it was only half a second.
And 2/10
on
loss for SVG.
Yes. So once again, it would appear it's a continuing game of back and forth between these two as we've.
Alpha Venturi can't be too bad.
Okay, so this is what happened to it.
No, this is just an overtake for outright position. They're just getting it done. No issues with the car at all.
That's good to see that, because for a second I was like, hang on, that's the 42 leading 2 Litre Tourers.
No, it's all good.
Please tell me everything's okay there. Yay, lovely, excellent. That's what we like to hear, is that the class is getting on, and it does indeed depose the SSR 42 back outside the top 10 outright in this race. As we're approaching 25 or 26 and a half minutes to go, I'm just sitting here wondering, what can Lawrence Clark do? That is how things look if we switch indeed to the outright positions and timings. And there you go, margin to the outright leader of the 994 Eclipse, unfortunately. Just the 3 drivers in the Grand Tour on the lead lap there. Top 5 separated by 1 lap. Total was going to switch it back to the per class divisions there as we watch Clark negotiate Mizomo.
Under 5
so
seconds.
On that last lap, on that last only half a second gain by Lawrence Clark as Sean Hart found a bit of a turn of some pace. But he's just been passed by Van Gisbergen, which will slightly compromise the line into Murray's. We'll see here. So go Hart 220.1. Clark punch out another low 220. Make it a 2.9 fastest lap of the race for that car.
Wow.
All right, he's on. He's hustling. Nearly 2 seconds gained in a single lap.
And he made an overtake as well. He overtook Mizomo as well. So it's not that he didn't do it without any traffic or anything. He had to make a very, very good pass at the same time. And just seeing too, the MFR 97 car has brought it into the lane. We did say that that car owed 1 more stop. It is coming in now. So we'll see the MFR 555 probably coming in the next 3 laps. And I'm going to say the 666 car will come in either next lap or the following. Also been asked by co-driver of this car, Seb Murray-Westberg, to try and put the commentator's curse on the top 5. He, of all people, should know that commentator's curse doesn't work like that, and because he's requested it, the curse is probably going to go on his car.
Yeah, one does not simply ask for it.
Being a former producer and commentator in this exact seat, he should know that that is not how the commentator's curse works. So shout out to Modified 666 on the stream, Seb Murray-Westberg. Seb, I apologise in advance because now your car is likely in the fence. And I've warned you.
But is it a counter curse if by saying his car is probably going to end up on the fence?
I don't know. Maybe.
It's all a very mysterious dark art.
Look, it is a dark art. We do know that it exists. We don't know how it works. And I think when you ask how it works or ask for help with it, that's when it can come back to bite you.
Yeah. I think let's go with that. That's a fair summation, I think.
But anyone that says it's not real, it is real, but it's also not real because we don't want to acknowledge that it exists, but we know that it works or it happens. It happens way too often for it not to be something real about it, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I'd say so.
It's scary how much it does happen. I mean, I don't know if it's because we're paying attention to that car at that point, or if it's actually a dark art that we don't know about and don't want to know about. I don't know. It's scary how many incidents there are involving the cars that we've just talked up, though, tend to happen. It's just right on cue. Lawrence Clark has a huge power slide out of the final corner. I don't know how you have a front wheel power slide, but he definitely did. And look at that. Another second.
Well, continuing to hustle in this race is the 632. Of Lawrence Clark. There we go. 555 of Dan Stevens.
I was close to right, wasn't I?
Brings it on in to Indeed. And here comes Foster.
Nostradamus is here.
It's like he's looking at the stint.
It's like I'm looking at data that actually tells us what's going on in the race. But you still got to work it out, though, don't you? You've got to understand the data.
When the data is stint and length, and you can look at the past couple of stints and go, it was this long, therefore it should probably be this long as well. I mean, yes, but also like, duh. But hey, I'll take free data that spells out exactly what's happening.
So Dan Stevens out, and pit stop time of 18 seconds. So true splash and dash there.
Yep, nice breezy stop there. James Foster a little longer in that 666 Velux Cayman with 22 seconds. That will still, though, be plenty comfy because their competition is with the KSR 46 with Carl Sampson behind the wheel. Unfortunately, I don't think they can... Well, no. Yeah, minute 42, and now that I look at it, yeah, they're the first car 2 laps down is the 666. As
they got a lot. Need a bit of luck to to get another position, which is why they're wanting the commentator skirts put on someone in the lead 5. We don't condone that behaviour, Seb. This gap is closing, but is it closing fast enough? Burst responds with a 13.3. SVG 13.5. So you got it down to exactly 8 seconds. It's now back up to 8.2.
Back and forth. It's either back and forth.
It's going back and forth, but overall is slowly going in the favour of SVG with the back and forth going on, but it's not enough.
Yeah. Indeed. It would have to be a continuous slide of momentum. And yeah, it's more like a seesaw. Or a swing, one way. Let's pick something as Clark continues to decide that the 2-minute 19 bracket is where his car should be for lap times. Means that the only car matching him at the moment is the class leader. To put it in perspective, it's literally a 219s for Mold Queen, 220s for Hart. Lawrence Clark joining your race leader in the 19s. And then Brady Baldwin also doing 20s. Yeah, that's bold in the front-wheel drive car, but Sean Hart makes it work. Anything to put some traffic between you and the car behind, even if it is your own teammate here on the Mountain J.
Oh, no!
Oh! That's going to be day done surely for the 23.
And that... I don't know. Oh, watch out. Oh, gee whiz. This is... Is he going to make it back to the pits? It's probably the question now, isn't it?
Well, it seemed to make the left turn across McPhillamy okay. And I think actually most of the damage is in the front left, so I think it's just obliterates ability to turn corners properly, but might just have escaped without serious instability issues at the low medium speed. So we go to the replay here. So yeah, Hart slips around the outside there on the approach to Reed Park. And unfortunately for Troy Allen, Lawrence Clark says, oh, I'll do the same at the grey here. Allen already turning in. And at that point, there is no recovering that. When you've committed a car that's limited on grip like that to turning in, and contact spits you back out straight.
That was one of those incidents that are very, very synonymous at Bathurst in slower cars. With the natural flow of the line at Metal Grate, you do run it a bit wide. And if you've got a car that's right up behind you that is a faster class car, it can look like that car is moving aside to let you through. That was not the intention. He was trying to take the natural line and then swung it back onto the line, but by the time he did that, there's already a car there. That's a classic Bathurst incident. You know what he was trying to do. You know what both drivers were thinking was going on there. And just a heartbreaking incident for both drivers, because I know that Lawrence Clark wouldn't have wanted to have an incident there. That also wreaked a tiny little bit of desperation too, because he knew that he was catching his teammate for second in class. He didn't want that position to just drive off down the road.
Which is a bit of an odd way to go about it, in my opinion, because despite all of that,
he was catching fast enough, didn't need to do it, did he?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's, yeah, you just trust yourself to make the time up if you lose any. I'd almost argue that he could have backed off Lawrence, and he would have just been neutral to Sean. So... Yeah,
but that's a hindsight thing. You'd probably look back at it and go, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. But in the heat of the moment, you go, oh, okay, he's moved across to let me through. I guess I better send it and make sure that neither of us lose time. But to look back on it now, I'd be thinking about it. I'm sure he's got it subconsciously in his mind. Every time he goes down the straight now, he's thinking about it. But while he's across the top of the mountain, he can't think about it. He needs to concentrate now on the race itself.
Yep. We'll see if race control has anything for it, or about it for us. But it's sort of a wait and see thing on that. Because, I mean, yeah, that could also be something interesting, is that if there's a post-race penalty of some kind applied to the Code 9 632, that might then put the hustle back into the race. For that car, it's going to look to maybe tease the rear bumper of the Excalibur Esports Flat 4. That, though, is negotiated on the exit of the chase without any much drama. All right. Another replay coming on board with Clark once again here. And yeah, I guess you can see it. And Clark commits early to the inside as well. So yeah, I guess also that interpretation of what's happening. Like, I've gone in, showing intent.
While he's taking the natural line, it does look like he's said, hey, you can go through. Just the way that the car behavior shows, just the way the line flows, it's shown, hey, you're running wide to let me through. It's just, yeah. I'm sure we'll see that when we watch the real life Bathurst 6 Hour next weekend. I'm sure there will be an incident like that between a faster and slower class car.
Yeah, that will be an event worth watching, I think. I'll have to hopefully try and make some time for that, because, yeah, the third of the main events that now features, or the third of the Enduros that features on the Bathurst calendar. Always good to watch. Is another...
Burse has responded here.
Almost 4 tenths for Dylan Burse. Keeps that gap at 8.4. Now, actually, was that already 8.4 when we last checked?
At the line, it was 8.2. Sorry, it was 8.8 at the start of the lap. So this lap has gone back in Van Gisbergen's favour, but before that, I think it was 4.4 and then 4.2 the laps previous. So I think it's staying between that 8 and 8.5 second bracket.
Yep, I'd say that seems like a fair summation of the situation at this point in the race. All right. Approaching half a second for Lawrence Clark on Sean Hart.
Burse is back in the pits.
Oh.
Dylan Burse has got a pit lane penalty, black flag, drive-through penalty for exceeding the incident limit.
Oh, Dylan Burse. He had one job. Bring that car home. And now he's got to go and find the pace. Now, he's only 6 seconds behind at just under at 14 minutes. Well, this just got a lot more interesting, because now we're going to have a very fired up Burse behind the wheel of the 994.
Can confirm that the Lobs number 10 is nowhere near the incident limit. So I can see those numbers. There's not many drivers that are... There's a couple of drivers that are close, but there's no one further away from it than that number 10 car. They are only on 2 incidents at this point. So they are not going to exceed the incident limit, you would think, at this point.
Right, so license to push might have just also been activated. Well,
For both.
License to push beyond the limits might have just been activated for both. And I guess also for Burse's car, I guess now, yeah, you've got 15x to play with, since the safety rating is not counted in all of this, as of course a hosted session on the iRacing platform to run our event to these specifications. But yeah, that's it's quite a development. And we're coming up to 6, maybe 5 laps to go. We'll see here, because Van Gisbergen's just going to get to the timing line with probably around 12 minutes 10.
See what this lap is here for SVG, but he really needs a really good lap time here, and he gets one, 13.5. Versus lap time won't register as an official lap time because he obviously was in the pits for most of it. It is a 2:28. So 6.4 seconds with what we think is 6 laps to go.
Now, interestingly,
Versus asking for a virtual safety car.
there is that, but there's also something over in the race control inquiries. Asking for a review of minimum maximum drive time,
Which will be done automatically after the race happens anyway, so that will occur. I can confirm that everyone will be looked over and making sure that nobody's exceeded the 65%
of their class leaders
lap, which from the the base numbers, which are not 100%, because sometimes the iRacing count does play a little bit of mischief. It says 110 laps for Kobe Williams. We're on lap number 154. So that doesn't quite add up, does it? That would, to me, say that they're going to be exceeded the lap count by the time they get to race end.
Yeah, I don't think there's been well calculated. Because yeah, looking at the race history is up. Blinky Burst there makes an appearance. Kobe has been sent in for double, if not triple stints. This race, whereas Burst is doing at most double stints for Kobe, single stints for Burst. 65% of this race.
Well, if we get to 160 laps, if we get to that, let's work out 65%. Let's do it off my head.
92.
Yeah, rough. Yeah, 92. So 92 laps max. So even if we get to 170 laps, he's still going to be well over. So
That's definitely what we call an oops.
That's going to come back to bite by the time the race ends. This battle is still ongoing. Lawrence Clark hasn't been able to make the move yet. He's trying, but he just can't quite get there. Let me rephrase that. He's there, he just can't quite get past.
Well, also look at, Sean Hart's actually found the pace. Just going to even things up. But, Lawrence Clark to the inside for the chase. Going to have to hop the curb.
Not with your teammate.
As a result, unable to make... He hops the curb on the apex as well. My word, Lawrence Clark has decided all of this track is usable. And he will have a right go at it here. As with all of that querying and wondering about that 994
look at the last lap time.
Dylan Burst is going to put the hammer down whilst he can.
He took half a second out of SVG, but it's not enough at this point. Of course, still want to be the winner on track, but it's not going to pay off as the race ends. We'll stay with this battle, though. This is incredible.
All right.
If you didn't know they were teammates, you would not think they were teammates, just judged by the way that they're battling.
Yeah, correct. There is certainly no team orders here today, as to do with the Venturi 818 going around the outside as Clark decides to drive himself into the marbles at Griffins. Oh, that was a bit of an error of judgment there, as the AVR Mercedes actually still stuck here. We've got one of the flat fours coming up.
Oh, this is going to be bad.
Scott KSR car, so Hart around the outside. Just keeps it off the wall there as we go into the Fujitsu. You've still got... This is who is it? Where are you? Matthew Pignata is still behind the wheel of the 818 in front of us here as we ride over McPhillamy. What's great patience from Pignata. He wants to... I think he might know that he needs... Well, it'd be ideal to get out of this fight because these two are scrapping for actual spots, but he's making sure here he's not going to be the one to cause controversy and drama inside the final 7.5 minutes of the Wilson's Industrial Sales Bathurst 6 hour here today. He'll finally get his chance with the open rundown Conrod. There you go. He'll set off on his way now, and Sean Hart finally doesn't have to worry about that potential pressure there. And a bit of slipstream possibly from that Merc, which is probably just started checking out, you'd think. Will have helped keep that gap steady-ish as they come down into the chase. Both cars, that time, a little bit more standard on the curb usage at least.
But Alpha Venturi car also one of the few teams that have gone with 3 drivers today. So you were able to run 3 drivers if you wanted for this event. The Alpha Venturi 818 has run with 3. Also running with 3 is the 65 Whitey's Pies. They've run with 3 drivers as well. OPR is also registered with 3 drivers, but only 2 have taken to the track.
That's interesting, because that could disqualify the OPR car in that case.
Well, they haven't actually registered. They've registered for the session, but they haven't entered the session.
Ah, no, that makes more sense. Because I was saying, hang on a second, I'll open that up and I see David Lord, Dylan Shepherd, the only 2 who actually have done this, joined the session and done laps in that case. As we're looking there at the
That's
margin
not the right
back.
one. Let me click the right button. Let's click that. There we go.
E. That is indeed more like what we wanted to compare. And, oh, would you look at that? Lawrence Clark still stuck behind his teammate. As the clock ticks down, someone's in the dirt down chase, but it's, well, thankfully, but not thankfully, the number 9 of Ben Christensen there, so could be worse. Although Dylan Burst now has to scythe on by at Murray's.
SVG does a 13.4, Burst does a 13.3, so not enough to gain much back. He's only up by 5.5 seconds. Sorry, 5.5 seconds is the gap. Be 3 laps to go now, so we're getting close to the end of this race. And Lawrence Clark still cannot get past. Trying, but he just can't.
Yep. Had all of that pace in the clean air to catch up to his teammate Sean Hart. And then now that he's here on the back bumper, it's as if he's hit a wall. Although, not for oh my word, not for lack of trying here.
He does realise
Sends
it's
it
his
in
teammate ahead, doesn't he?
Apparently, as I said, no team warners exist here because Hart's gonna... Well, these Hart's not even really defending this all that much. As again, Lawrence Clark putting everything on the line. It seems as Hart finally goes a bit defensive. Try and dissuade an ambitious move into Hell Corner. And they'll wind up and go again for the run to Griffins.
This is such a good fight to watch. This is incredibly fun, incredibly entertaining. I don't know who's actually going to hold on to this in this battle here. Is Hart going to be able to hold on? Oh, this is a mega send. You don't want to send it there on your teammate. Oh, this must be so nerve-wracking in the team for these guys because, sure, they want to battle. They surely want to enjoy themselves out there. But, you don't want to end up in an incident between teammates. But, this is continuing to be a great fight.
It is. Yeah, it's just almost bonkers as to exactly how crazy this has gone. As we watch them down the S's for their third last time in this race, because your race leader is heading up Mountain Straight. So we'll get the white flag for him next time he crosses the start-finish line. And won't be able to lap these two. But just, yeah, the runoff of the elbow, clearly even enough that it's keeping things steady. And then Slipstream's not really key until we get to about here. Although this time Clark is close. He pulls out. He's going to have to go to the inside for the kink at the chase. Hart's not going to give him all that much room. And around!
What a save.
Can he gather it up, though? Can he gather it up, though?
Oh, well done. What just happened? These guys are teammates.
Clearly decided that with the whole lap margin back to the 07 of Brady Baldwin that there are no limits because they're not catching the race class one. So Clark moves over, bumps. But from that angle, it's as though Hart then turns down and just chops the rear of Clark's car as they come through the kink. I mean, now, Lawrence did go up and over the curb there in the 632, which will have run him a little wider, but I think Sean was probably in a spot where I guess also maybe a tiny bit more space was probably warranted to avoid that from being a thing. Oh, around around goes the Whitey's Pie, 65. Chase in... No, sorry, it's Troy Allen having even more of a woe. Right in front of our race leaders, who are now going down to Murray's to take the white flag in this one. Barney up at past the start-finish line. As Van Gisbergen crosses by there now. Just under a minute on the clock. We will go 6 hours and a minute and change. Gap of 5 seconds between Van Gisbergen and Dylan Burse. This is very much SVG's race now to lose.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't get traffic at the wrong spot, you can't see him losing this from here. He's pitted with enough laps to make sure he's probably got a lap of fuel spare. We were wondering before we started the broadcast whether we were going to get a 1,000 kilometre race. It's going to be 2 laps short by the end. We're going to get a race distance of 159 laps. So very, very incredibly good pace for these drivers in this race. But SVG and Brad Newman look like they've done enough to try and hold on to this race. It's got half a lap to go and they've done it.
Already up past Reed and Sulman, and traffic stepping aside across the top before McPhillamy as well, making Van Gisbergen's life that little bit easier. Just 2 cars there in front to negotiate on his way down the S's and the Dipper, and then it looks like it'll be home free for SVG as he's got Matthew Pluck just negotiating Sim Black's 86 of Dion de Graaf. Now, there you go, Pluck will step aside, so that puts him 2 laps down. And this one here. 2 braking zones left in this one, and, well, a race in which, Jay, I think... Oh, I've just watched Dylan Burse nearly kill Dion de Graaf, but thankfully that didn't happen. But, yeah, a race we thought Dylan Burse and Kobe Williams might have had this one done, but a late error, putting them over the iRacing incident point penalty for the day, will give the win to Shane Van Gisbergen and Brad Newman in the Brookvale Falcon by Lob's entry. Your winners of the inaugural Wilson's Industrial Sales Bathurst 6 Hour here in 2023.
Damon Mulqueen's still got another full lap to go, and Mizomo still at the top of the mountain. They are almost definitely going to win their classes in this event. Actually, the Wave Runner SSR car cannot lose from this point because they are a full lap ahead of everyone else in their class who has already crossed the line. So they've done enough, even if they put it in the wall now. But Mizomo and Dance, they've got half a lap over their competitors. So will that hold on? Well, will they hold on, I should say. This battle isn't done. The most awkward team chat post-race between these guys is going to be one that I would love to be listening to, but in the same breath, don't want to be anywhere near. Lawrence Clark gave it a go. Sean Hart made contact with Clark after he bounced it over the curb. I don't know which way you'd rule that. Racing incident potentially, but either way, it's teammates who have come together and finished 2nd and 3rd in class.
Yeah, able to keep their noses clean enough, as it were. Rainer Costello, in the meantime, about 15 seconds ago, has crossed the line to take 3rd for this race. And it will be Sean Hart in the 613 for 2nd place in the Code 9 Esports entry. Lawrence Clark in the 632 will have to settle for 2nd, or 4th place, sorry, or 3rd. No, 3rd, get your words right. But you see there in the back, well, was the background, now very much the center of attention. Simon Mizomo secures the win for himself and Cameron Dance in the number 6 for the GR86 Flat 4 class. And Damon Mulqueen, well, him and Brenton Hobson, by the time we tuned in, were already very much uncontested. And they will finish off by bringing it across the line to win the 2-litre tourist category here for this one today. Well, with that, that's about everyone across the line. Apparently just one final car that needs to finish. Oh, Ewan Baker's just done... Oh. Oh, well, that was close to being perfect, and then it was not perfect very quickly. If we might want to grab a replay, though, we can back up by 20 seconds. Because the initial touchdown is worth a look at that one, I think. Lovely. All right. Gonna have a quick look because I just brought attention. So, as always, send it over the jump. And look, the touchdown initially looked good here for Baker, but it's broken the left front and then up and over and in the wall.
That's brilliant.
Sorry, right front gave up the ghost. With the rollovers there. But with that, we now go to look at our race results for the Wilson's Industrial Sales Bathurst 6 hour. First of all, now actually I don't know, this might be our outright race results.
This is outright, yes.
There you have, it is actually sorted by outright, but of course our top 10 all in the Grand Tour category with the Brookvale Falcon by Lobs entry of Shane Van Gisbergen and Brad Newman taking the victory over Dylan Burst and Kobe Williams in the Eclipse SimSports 994. Rainer Costello and Sean Linsell will come home there in P3 and just stay on the lead lap there by about a minute. With Chris Coxhead, the first of our cars, one lap, the only car in Grand Tour, one lap down there in P4. After sharing that car with Aaron Gilbert today, Matthew Pluck brings home the KSR 51 in 5th place, ahead of the Velox Sim Racing 666 there in P6. Actually, sixes all round for that car today, it would seem. Carl Sampson brings home the next of the KSR cars, number 46 there in 7th. 8th went to... Oh, probably actually trying something here, I think, for a second, but...
It's not playing friendly.
It's having a couple of moments. We'll leave it here on the outright page results. So Sampson, KSR 46 in 7th. Dan Stevens, next, another lap down there. The 555 middle finger car beats home the fellow MFR car with Mark Newton behind the wheel at the end in the 97. And Matthew Pignata rounds out our top 10 with the Alpha Venturi 818 there in 5 laps down on your leaders. Then we turn to the next 10 cars and we see the first of our 2-litre Tourers, Damon Mulqueen bringing home the SSR 42 in 11th place. And Anthony Green, Thomas Hinz to round out our finishes in the Grand Tour category there. 6 laps down on Van Gisbergen and Newman. Second place in 2-litre Tourers will go to Sean Hart and the Code 9 Esports 613 ahead of Lawrence Clark in the 632. Sister entry there with Brady Baldwin, our final finishing 2-litre Tourer. Another 2 laps down in the 07. And then our top runners in the flat 4. Simon Zomo brings it home for Orbit Motorsport and Cameron Dance there 17th outright, the class dub most importantly. Scott KSR number 7. Henry Thomas Kircher brings it home second in class. Dion DeGraff rounding out our podium in the flat 4s category, with Ben Christensen just also finishing top 20 outright for the ANZ Motorsports number 9. With your final finishes going to be Henry King in the 50 team, the team championship is 52 there. Curtis Bird in the Whitey's place, I think also did get home there, despite being a couple laps off everyone else in class. Ewan Baker as well, having made that jump we just had a look at as well, did make it home. So I think Lindsay Hobbs as well, making it home there to the end of the race as well to make it 24 finishes today, Jay, with our final drivers, unfortunately, David Lord, the number 43 OPR by Lobs, the MF Racing, number 23. Actually, in saying that, they might have also finished as well. If I could find that out for you guys, I will.
The last 4 did not finish the race, so...
No, Troy Allen did finish the race, I can confirm.
Okay, there we go.
So just got home there in time. So 26 finishes from 28 starters. Unfortunately, we lost the 919 Alpha Venturi TCR and the number 34 Carlson Brothers Motorsport flat 4 from today's race before we could tune in. And this was the one car we could find nailing a jump. Oh my gosh, that is a lowrider run over the wall for Brady Baldwin in the 07 Synergy Sim Racing machine. And that is probably a nice way for us to wrap things for this afternoon's action. Big thanks to everyone who took part in the racing action today. And congratulations once again to all of the class winners. Brookvale Falcon by Lobs, the SSR Wave Runner 42, and the Orbit Motorsport Venus cars for their keeping our noses clean and getting the results on the board as a result. Thank you all for watching us here for the conclusion of the Wilson's Industrial Sales Bathurst 6 hour here as part of the V8SCOPS supports category in 2023. We'll be back when V8SCOPS heads to the Phillip Island circuit in 2 weeks' time on the weekend of April 14th through to 16th. Until then, my name is Danny Yeaman, Jay Kennedy alongside me here on production and commentary. Thank you all very much for watching and have a good rest of your weekend.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.